We're calling this the Battle of the Briefings. It is, if you like, a tale of two teams. This is what we know. Prince Harry is still coming to the UK, but he won't be staying at Buckingham Palace in a royal residence. So what has been going on? It is sometimes quite hard to get to the bottom of these things, but we understand that the offer had obviously been made for the Duke of Sussex to have access to a royal residence. Buckingham Palace was the one. This was an offer that was accepted by the Duke of Sussex, but we understand for the Palace's point of view, it was accepted too late. There wasn't enough time to sort out the hospitality and to sort out the staffing for that accommodation. The Palace had always wanted clarity and a speedier response. They'd given a deadline, and that deadline had been missed. They also, I think, are very aware that Prince Harry on Tuesday is getting the judgment in his privacy case against the publishers of the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday. That added an extra layer of complexity given the King's constitutional role within the courts. But as it stands, Harry coming to the UK, not staying at Buckingham Palace. But this is when it all gets a little bit tricky, because you hear from Harry's team, so Team Duke of Sussex, and they're saying something quite different. They're saying that the reason the decision took so long was because Harry had to make private arrangements for his security, because that hadn't been sorted out in time. So once he got the security he needed in place, he was then able to accept the offer of accommodation. This is what a spokesperson for the Duke of Sussex said in a statement. They said, "It is therefore disappointing that the offer has now been withdrawn, with Tuesday's judgment in the Associated Newspapers Limited case cited as the reason. Buckingham Palace has, however, been aware of that judgment since last Thursday. It is therefore unclear why, having formally accepted the offer, it has now been withdrawn at the last minute." Now, look, as I say, a battle of the briefings only scratches the surface when it comes to what's been going on here. Like I say, Harry is definitely coming, won't be staying at the palace. But I think it does go to show that this trip is already potentially being overshadowed by the never-ending drama of the communication breakdown between both teams, between father and son, perhaps. And let's not forget, the whole point of Harry's trip to the UK was to celebrate and really get and to mark 1 year to go until the Invictus Games, which are due to be held in Birmingham. But already he's landing in what appears like an ongoing soap opera between Buckingham Palace and the Duke of Sussex's team.
Champions, welcome back to the channel that never backs down when it comes to defending our Duke. Picture this. A prince flies home for one of the most personal, most meaningful causes of his entire public life. Cameras are ready. The countdown clock is ticking. Everything should be simple. And yet, somehow, by the time he lands, the story that's dominating the headlines has nothing to do with why he actually came home in the first place. Sound familiar? If you've followed this family for any length of time, you already know that's exactly how these things tend to go, and today's story is no different. It just so happens to come with its own strange little twist, involving where exactly a prince is allowed to lay his head for the night. Stick with me on this one, because by the end of this video you're going to understand exactly why the same old critics who love to pile on Harry are once again scrambling to spin a story that really isn't his fault at all. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now, because we cover every single twist in this family saga before anyone else, and we do it with the facts, not the tabloid nonsense. So here's what's actually happening. Prince Harry touched down in the UK this week for a big, meaningful occasion, marking 1 year to go until the Invictus Games arrive in Birmingham. Now remember, this isn't some throwaway appearance for Harry. The Invictus Games is his baby. He built it from the ground up back in 2014 for wounded, injured and sick servicemen and women, and every single time he shows up for it, he's showing up for a cause that means more to him than almost anything else in public life. So naturally, you'd think this trip would be a straightforward feel-good moment. A prince, a countdown clock, a room full of veterans cheering. Simple, right? Except nothing involving Harry and the institution he left behind is ever simple, is it? Because on the very same day he's supposed to be celebrating wounded warriors, the headlines aren't about Invictus at all. They're about a guest bedroom in Buckingham Palace. A representative for Harry told Sky News, plain and clear, that the Duke had accepted an offer to stay at the palace during his visit. Straightforward enough. A prince visiting London, staying at a royal residence. That's about as normal as it gets. But then, almost immediately afterward, Buckingham Palace turned around and said, essentially, not so fast. According to the palace, Harry can't stay there because he missed a deadline. A deadline! As if booking into a hotel where you needed to confirm by 3 p.m. Tuesday or lose the room. It's the kind of bureaucratic excuse that makes you raise an eyebrow, doesn't it? Now, here's where it gets interesting, and here's where we, as champions of this family, need to slow down and actually look at the receipts, instead of just accepting whatever line gets fed to us by certain corners of the British press who have made a whole career out of finding new ways to paint Harry as the difficult one. Because, according to reporting since this broke, Harry's own team pushed back hard against the palace's version of events. His spokesperson didn't just shrug this off. They came out swinging, saying it was actually the palace that pulled the offer after it had already been formally accepted, not the other way around. Think about that for a second. One side says you missed the deadline. The other side says you accepted and then you yanked it away at the last second. Those are two very different stories, and only one of them can be true. And this is exactly the pattern we've seen play out again and again since Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal life. A story breaks. The narrative from the institution paints Harry as somehow at fault, somehow difficult, somehow the one who dropped the ball. And then, if you actually wait for the full picture, a very different version tends to emerge. One where Harry's team is left explaining, defending, clarifying, because the initial framing wasn't the whole truth. We've watched this movie before, champions. We know how it goes. What makes this particular dispute sting even more is the timing and the context around it. This wasn't meant to be just any visit. Reports suggest this was supposed to be the first time in 4 years that Harry brought his whole family back to Britain together, Meghan, Archie and Lilibet included. Can you imagine that? An entire family reunion on home soil timed around a cause as meaningful as Invictus. That's the kind of moment that should have been a genuinely heartwarming story for the tabloids to run with. Instead, we're told that the family will not be joining him on the London leg of the trip at all, reportedly because Harry was refused official police protection. So layer that on top of the accommodation drama, and you start to see a pattern forming, don't you? Every single time this man tries to come home, to celebrate wounded veterans, to visit his mother's memory, to reconnect with family, something conveniently gets in the way. A security dispute here, a missed deadline there, a withdrawn invitation somewhere in between. At what point do we stop calling this coincidence? Now, of course, the critics are already out in force, aren't they? The keyboard warriors and the tabloid columnists who've built entire careers on finding fault with Harry no matter what he does. If he stays away from the UK, they say he's abandoned his family. If he comes back, suddenly it's a security row, an accommodation row, a scheduling row. It's exhausting, honestly, watching the goalposts move every single time. But here's the thing, champions, and this is why this channel exists. We don't let those narratives go unanswered. because when you actually line up the facts side by side, it becomes very clear that Harry isn't the one creating chaos here. He accepted an invitation to stay at a royal residence. That's not scandalous. That's not attention-seeking. That's a son accepting hospitality from his father's household while he's in the country for an event close to his heart. If there was confusion about deadlines or paperwork, that's an administrative matter, not evidence of bad character, and it's certainly not something that deserves to dominate headlines the way it has. Let's also talk about why this even matters beyond the palace walls. Because at the heart of all of this noise is the actual reason Harry flew to Britain in the first place: the Invictus Games. This event has changed lives. Wounded service members who thought their competitive careers, their sense of purpose, their identity were over after injury have found a second wind through Invictus. Harry didn't build this to score PR points. He built it because he saw firsthand through his own military service what it does to a person to come home changed and feel forgotten. And every single year this countdown ticks closer to Birmingham. It's a reminder that no matter what soap opera the tabloids want to manufacture around his personal life, the actual substance of what he does still matters, still helps real people, and still deserves real coverage. So while the palace and Harry's team go back and forth over who said what about a guest room, let's not lose sight of what's actually important here. A prince who left behind the full weight of royal life still shows up, still flies across an ocean, still puts his name and his face behind an event for wounded veterans year after year. That's not nothing. That's not a man who's checked out of doing good, no matter what certain corners of the press desperately want you to believe. And honestly, the fact that this accommodation dispute became the headline instead of the Invictus countdown tells you everything you need to know about where certain outlets' priorities really lie. They'd rather manufacture a family feud than talk about wounded soldiers finding hope again. That's the real story here, champions, and it's about time somebody said it plainly. Now, we also have to be fair and balanced here, because that's what separates this channel from the noise. We don't just take Harry's side blindly, we look at what's actually been reported. And it does appear both camps have provided conflicting accounts, and neither Buckingham Palace nor Harry's representatives have fully clarified every detail of what exactly went wrong with the paperwork or the timing. It's entirely possible there was a genuine miscommunication on both sides, given how strained relations reportedly still are. But even accounting for that, ask yourself this: why does it feel like every single interaction between Harry and the institution turns into a public relations battle instead of a private family matter handled with basic decency? That right there is the real question worth asking, and it's one the critics conveniently never seem to want answered. If you're new to this channel, or if you've been riding with us for a while now, you already know we're not here to just repeat headlines. We're here to break down what they mean, challenge the lazy narratives, and give credit where it's actually due. So if this video opened your eyes even a little bit to how these stories get twisted before they reach your feed, do us a favor and smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and drop a comment telling us what you think really happened with this so-called missed deadline. Do you believe the palace's version, or do you think Harry's team is telling it straight? Let's hear it in the comments, because this community deserves a real conversation, not just tabloid shouting matches. Before we wrap up, let's zoom out for a second. This whole saga, the flip-flopping over accommodation, the security dispute keeping his family away, the constant scrutiny over every single move he makes when he touches down on British soil, It's exhausting to watch, and it's clearly exhausting for him to live through. And yet he keeps coming back. For Invictus. For the causes that matter. For the people who actually need him to show up. That resilience, that refusal to just disappear, no matter how loudly the critics scream, is exactly why this channel exists, and exactly why we'll keep covering every twist and turn of this story until the truth actually gets its fair hearing. So that's where we'll leave things for today, champions. A guest room dispute that says a lot more about the state of Harry's relationship with the institution than it does about any actual scheduling mix-up. Keep your eyes on this channel, because as more details drop about this UK visit, and trust me, there will be more, we'll be the ones breaking it down without the spin. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, turn on notifications so you never miss an upload, and share this with someone who still believes everything the tabloids print without question. Until next time, stay loyal, stay informed, and keep standing with the Sussexes. This has been Sussex Champions. We'll see you in the next one.